Alright, now it's time for another thing. This time, it's gonna be about knowledge. Zoom in more. Knowledge. Do I have any? No. I'm just joking. No need to be so self-deprecating, you know. But, anyways, um, I don't know. Knowledge is an interesting question because it's like, why do we do it? Why do we learn more? Man, I hate connecting everything back to biology, but that provides the clearest answers. I don't know, it just seems like we do it for control, you know? We want to control things. Because that makes us feel better, maybe? Versus when we're not in control. That makes us sad. Or anxious. Or depressed. Is depressed different from sad? I don't know. Um, but, you know, I mean, a fundamental truth about this world is you can't control everything. You know, people like to say the expression, life's not fair. But what does that really mean? I think if you look past it, it means life doesn't follow a narrative. You know, if things, well, I feel like this is too broad a generalization. Obviously, there's some gaps here. But you think about it, you know, it's like if the world was Mad Max, would we be mad at injustice? Or would we take it how it is? You know, it'd be like, things are the way they are. Guess you could say life follows a way we can't control. Now, I guess if we circle back, I would say it's not always about control. There is a group of people who just like to explore, and form new ideas. Um, just create new art, different refractions of human experience. It's like, imagine if life was just like a chessboard, you know, a chess game. There'd be a lot of permutations. I guess you could say like the multiverse. If that's tickles your fancy. And I guess why do people explore? I guess you get a dopamine hit for discovering something novel. But I don't know. It's just interesting. It's like, why don't we just stay in stasis? Why do we feel the desire to move forward? Some part of it, I think, is like Isaac Newton's second law, or maybe it's third law. I don't know. An object in motion likes to stay in motion. It's just strange. Like, we assume we're moving forward when it comes to raw knowledge output. But are we? Some people say civilizations are cyclical. We just go ding, ding, ding. You know, anarchy, despotism, democracy. Is knowledge? Does knowledge have a pattern? Obviously, there's limits to the brain. I mean, there'd be small evolutionary steps. But we're still running in the same hardware. As we were 1,000 years ago. You would think, things are getting too complex for humans. It's not possible to hold such ideas. Even if you optimize, at some point the computer will become obsolete. And it's funny that we have it in this moment in time when knowledge has been exponential, you know? Like, it's been like, whoosh, that's not exponential. We develop AI, which kind of acts like an interface. You know, it's almost like it came at the perfect time, just when things were becoming so complicated. We needed kind of a centralized spot. I don't know. It's just interesting. It's like things change shape when you shine a different light under it. You know, you have this idea in this context, but in pitch black, the same idea means something different. But people would say they're the same thing. Like if you take a ball and shine it under light, or you shine it under another, or even better, identity. We believe in a fixed identity, but you enter a room, you're one person, you enter another, you're a different person. With one person, you're like this, you're like a cool guy. The other, you're lame, and you don't belong. It's just strange, this plurality. You know, Aristotle had the idea of the essence of objects, believing that every object had its essence. And I think that's true. I mean, if you look at math, they have prime numbers. And in language, natural language, that sits on top of the symbolic meaning. You know what I think? This idea seems pretty heavy. Uh, I was like, I was thinking maybe ideas are just neural constructs. Prime numbers just represents a small shape in our brain. But that's not really true because these things are being told to exist outside of our brains. Not that we can ever experience it, but apparently they exist outside of our brains. But if we can't really, I don't know. It's like you're told the world is round, but you never actually feel it when you walk around. I mean, maybe if you're at a special spot like a mountain, you'd be able to see, or looking over the ocean. You assume it's so because it's provable through senses, but if you didn't have the senses and you were just told that it was round, is that just blind knowledge, you know? Like, how do we know anything is real or just not fed to us by sensory inputs? Does it matter that anything is real? I feel like what people need to understand is that you as an individual does not exist in the same way. Well, does not have the same shape as societies. As a collective, you are different than an individual. It seems like some knowledge is suited for the collective, but not really for the individual. Man, fuck this. Like, we've progressed, you know, as a society, but as the individual, how have we changed? You read the novels of back in the day, like the classics, and it's funny because it's the same thing. Now, I don't know how to describe it, I'm only going off my intuition. but it's the same social like structures, you know? It's like we create stories of like people as pirates or as knights in shining armor, and we imagine we are there sometimes, you know, like that's us. The thing is, that is us. Like, that has been us, you know? If you were transported 500 years ago, it'd be similar, you know? It'd be the same feelings, same subjective experience. I mean, it'd be a lot shittier, you know? Like, objective reality won't be able to hold you as nicely. But how we deal with people, how we deal with society, obviously it's changed a little. I mean, one of the things I find interesting is that systems are dominating over individuals. Before, you know, something bad would happen, you'd have an individual to blame, like, oh, this was all Genghis Khan's fault, you know? Now it's just like the system failed, there's no one to point to, there's no clean exit. It's a stranger you can't grab onto. I don't know. It's interesting. And to pivot to something else, this is completely unrelated. I feel like once we figure out everything, what would be left? You know, it's like when you find out how a magician does his tricks, the magic is dead. You lose something when you find things out. Of course, people are always going to be creating. New systems, different permutations. I mean, it would be really hard to get to that point in time. Just an interesting question, because at the heart of it, knowledge, let's zoom in. Knowledge is not really a fixed end. It's the journey. It's about transformation. The journey, not the destination. So I guess the deeper fundamental question behind this is, why move at all? Why go forward? Ignorance is bliss, right? But I think, because, you know, I'm going to close the system here. think the answer to why move forward is because we are programmed to move forward. Applications can have a fixed end, a clean exit, but we get rewarded with dopamine every time we discover a new idea. So we continue pushing onwards. To what end? I do not know. But it's like you're climbing a mountain and getting to higher and higher peaks, watching over the great plateau of history. Uh, I don't know. It's interesting. But going back to this chess analogy, everyone has a different brain. Everyone has a different surrounding. Everyone has information presented to them in a different way. And I think what this means is here is space-time, and you're just placed at one point of it. And you know, knowledge is one way we kind of move forward in it, you know? And some people might be here, and they might want to move this direction. And how do we determine what direction we move? Well, that all comes down to personal preference. Is some knowledge more valuable than others? Maybe, because it lets you control more. But, you know, that's up to personal ability. I don't know. But we're all just kind of moving around here, you know, and all the permutations of what's possible. And sometimes we like to share what we've seen, and that's all great. Maybe we'll get a full map of everything one day. Of course, the time part. No one's really figured out how to go back in time, so I guess once that's gone, the context collapses. Oh, what's possible? Interesting stuff, though. What's the conclusion? I don't know who said it, because I read it from War and Peace, but apparently Socrates said it. All one can know is that one knows nothing, and that is the height of human knowledge. I think once you understand that there's no fixed end to this field, you'll see that there's forever to go. You know, things are light years away, but that's fine. I mean, sometimes people don't really consider this that often. They're just in the day to day. I don't know. Interesting. Whatever.